everybody. Thanks for joining us from Politically Incorrect Knitters presents live from the Knitting Wars. Man, what a mouthful. Today we have Ann Pinkava, as always, and we're also joined today by Liz Clothier. Thanks for coming on, guys.
Thanks for having me. It's always fun to chat with you ladies.
Yeah, it's always lots of fun. So I don't know where we want to start, but Ann is absolutely exploding to talk about Mark Stein. So I don't know, do you just want to jump right in and do that, and then we can talk about other things?
This is the biggest free speech story of the year, and I know it's young, but this is exciting stuff.
Okay.
By exciting stuff, I mean totally depressing. No,
okay.
No,
don't ever change, Anne. Don't ever change.
No, but it is okay. So previous massive, when we talked about what happened with Steven Crowder and the Daily Wire. Okay, that entire thing. It's on very similar lines. So recap on, and then before that we mentioned because Stein has also run into censorship issues, and he, like Crowder, is the guy who will A, say the thing everybody wants. Everybody is waiting for someone to say, and B, deal out the legal troubles that nobody else wants to deal with. So they're very similar in that respect. But anyways, sorry, I got distracted by the chat. Never do that mid-rant. Anyways, so what happened with Mark Stein is that he had, as has been mentioned, that he was on GB News and then he had 2 heart attacks. So he was off for a couple months. He hasn't been on at all this year. He did a little video saying that, hey guys, not dead and I'll be back soon. So then the guy in charge of GB News, which is Angelus Fragopoulos. Sorry if I butchered that one.
No,
that sounds like you just made it up.
I know.
No, you're not.
I know that's so mean. I'm sorry, but come on.
It is pretty fakey fake. But okay, so first of all, this guy said, this dude, this absolute non-Chad, he said that, oh well, you can't come back to GB News after all. We don't have a defibrillator. And it's like, oh well, we'll get one then. And they said, no, actually you can't come back until you sign this contract. So the new contract says that first off, that there's a bunch of Ofcom complaints against Stein, and Ofcom is the media regulatory system in England. So that we in America, like, it's more that we have issues with specific social media companies and how they abuse power given by Section 240 and other things. But yeah, the Ofcom is the British regulatory thing. And also Ofcom has some weirdo connections with the World Economic Forum. Like their director is there and they're, taking advisement on that. And it could be that Ofcom becomes the regulation, not just for England, but for all of Europe. So that's a problem. Anyways, so there's been Ofcom complaints against Stein. So for him to sign this contract, his defense of himself and whatever he said, that it would be somebody else handling that defense with Ofcom. So, expect it to be limp-wristed, but also that Stein would have to handle all of the fines, which even The Guardian says is not legal. Like legally, any fines incurred against a station for saying something against, that is against Ofcom regulations are the station's fines and not the media personalities that they hire or freelance in Stein's case.
Interesting.
Where have I heard something like this before? It's very deja vu-ish, isn't it?
I know, it's wild. But yeah, and not only that, get ready for a second bout of deja vu, because Stein would also have to undergo a certain amount of re-education training to know what is right and appropriate to say on British airwaves.
Ah, very Jordan Peterson.
Yes.
Anything that's branded as re-education is never a good day. I'm just, that's not, no.
Yeah. And and again with these 2 different censorship situations with Crowder, with Jordan Peterson. Again, Crowder wasn't necessarily censored. because he didn't take that contract. He more said that these are the common contracts that are out there in conservative news groups. And then you have GB News, which its tagline is the home of free speech in Britain. And you can tell massive tone shift in their programming from what they had previously to what they have now. They're no longer talking about vaccine victims. They're no longer talking about the girls in Rotterdam and other towns around England who, the victims of vicious, brutal gang rape, that those girls' stories are no longer being told. And like Albanians coming into the borders and other things, the real news stories are suddenly going silent. And it's also fascinating. I mean, like I said, very, when the Steven Crowder Daily Wire thing comes out, bam, that we have, who's going to take a side of what. And it's very interesting that a lot of Stein's regulars have come out in support of him, but also some of the, list of GB News personalities. Lawrence Fox has said very strongly that, he supports Stein and that Stein is excellent, but that it's Ofcom that we should be blaming and not GB News, which, good on him for supporting Stein, but also GB News is taking the Ofcom regulations beyond what is actually technically legal. Like that, if there's the line, they don't want to touch the line. They want to move a little off it. So they're actually censoring a bit more. And obviously, okay, if you say that you're the home of free speech and you see the Ofcom regulations, then you say, hey, let's push back against them, because after all, they're rules and regulations that are pushbackable. They're not set in stone. And they're not taking that. They're not doing anything about it. They're not, they're just kind of folding over like, oh, okay, that's the regulations. That's it. And surprisingly, so Abby Roberts, she's a lady comedian in England. And I think by her own words, she's like the first canceled female comedian. Anyways, she is very funny. But she very strong for Mark Stein. Leo Kurtz, very surprisingly flaked out. He guest hosted.
I don't know who that is.
Okay. Leo Kurtz.
You got to talk to the rest of us like we don't watch British news, Anne.
I know. I will explain. So Leo Kurtz, he's a Scottish comedian. He's very funny, very shock jockey sort of a guy, which is surprising. And he was not only a part of Lawrence Fox's Reclaim Party, but he ran for a seat. And he came out and said, well, you shouldn't be any more surprised that a British news agency has to follow Ofcom than you would that a taxi driver has to follow road laws. Like, dude. And that's the thing. Is it the principle of the thing? Are you part of free speech? Are you pushing back? Are you doing things? I mean, even there's Michelle.
Yep.
But yes, I heard a story yesterday about the guy who founded Virgin Airlines, and the amount of times that he got arrested for vulgarity, for this, for that. After a while, you're like, he just loves to be arrested. But that's the thing. As nice conservatives, not saying that we ought to get arrested for fun, but we think that, oh, well, the law says that, or the rule says that, so I won't do it then. It's like, no. How do people go about changing laws? How do people go about changing rules? They protest. They are loud about it. And yes, being loud about it is obnoxious, but sometimes you got to stand there and be like, yeah, but we're not doing that.
Mm-hmm. Wombat has a question.
I think I saw a video about her saying something about GB News, but I haven't seen it.
Okay. So the answer is we're not sure.
I saw a heading going by. I'm sorry, I haven't seen that yet. But anyways, but yeah, it's a big old deal, especially since, okay, so Mark Stein had essentially the Tucker Carlson slot on GB News. Like, he is the headliner, and he kind of drove the narrative for everybody else. Like, Dan Booten would basically pick up where he left off. His show is After Steins. So he would pick up with vaccine victims and other issues such as this going on. And yeah, it's that their ratings would just trounce. Like, it'd be 3 times Piers Morgan, and like also better than Sky News. Like, they were doing incredibly well, and their network was being built on having this content, very much again like Steven Crowder pulling the largest numbers for live streams. So then having this, you can build up with these guys who you're like, oh well, we may not like them, but they're popular. But everything else collapses around it when they're no longer there. Now their GB News is not doing nearly as well as any of these other networks, not even the BBC. And they would get, like I said, they would get better than the BBC when it came to ratings, or just slightly above, you know, when Stein was kind of at his prime. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, that's the big rant.
That's interesting.
I think a lot of them, even the ones who claim to be free speech proponents, when it comes down to their livelihood or their money, they can justify it to themselves why they're really not. Mm-hmm. You know, why it's okay to censor this one person or this, you know, in their head, they can always justify it when it's their pocketbook at the, you know, that's going to suffer.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So, you know, it's the same as Dr. Peterson having to go to re-education camp to keep his license in Canada.
Yeah.
Which is ridiculous.
Sad.
There was someone else too I had heard who was going to have to do something like that. I can't remember. It was another doctor. It just shows that free speech is really not free speech.
No.
Anymore.
It's only free if you are on the correct, you know, if you are saying the correct things according to, you know.
Yep.
Sorry, I'm trying to pick up stitches and do this.
I'm sorry.
It wasn't a sentence, but you guys knew what I meant. Is Neil Oliver on GB News? I don't know the answer to that.
I believe he still is. Like, yeah, and Calvin Robinson too. And Calvin Robinson also said the thing about, you know, Ofcom being essentially the problem. But again, it's like, yes, Ofcom is the problem, and Ofcom should be pushed back against. And all of these issues. And there's a new bill coming through Parliament, which is an, quote, online harms bill, which would drastically limit free speech online.
Mm-hmm.
I only watch a couple people on GB News because the rest of them annoy me too much. Like, I like to watch Nigel Farage and Calvin Robinson and Nana Akua because she just tells it like it is, and
mm-hmm.
you know, very few will actually go out there and call out, you know, people on both sides
mm-hmm.
who are, you know, doing ridiculous things. It's one thing to call out the other side and not call out your own side when they're doing stupid things. And we have too many people who are, you know, they don't want to admit any mistakes on the conservative side. Nobody's doing anything wrong. They don't want to, you know, call out anybody on their side. And while we don't need the drama and we don't need the infighting, we also need to call out bad behavior.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't, you know, that makes the divide just as bad.
Yep.
That's my 2 cents.
Deborah, Anne covered the whole Crowder thing on an episode. It may have been like 135, and in the title it says like what's up with Crowder, so you should be able to find it pretty easily. And then Ellie Mae, thanks for the super chat. Jordan Peterson will tear them apart. I wish it was on pay-per-view. Yeah, Jordan Peterson doesn't take much from anybody. I enjoy him.
Mm-hmm.
I know everybody talks about him, but I just started listening to one of his books like a couple days ago. I never really I knew he was cool. I knew everybody's like read his books, but I hadn't had the time to go out and do it. So I started, I think, the 12 Rules to Live By or something. That's one of them, right?
I've been following,
12 Rules to Life, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've been following him for a long time, and my husband's known who he was and, liked him a lot, but he just really started watching the videos. So it's been fun talking
Yeah.
with him about a lot of the stuff in the videos. My dad really got into him because that one interview he did with that reporter where she tried to take him down and he just blew her, just blew her out of the water. My dad saw, and that was the first time he'd ever seen him. And before he died, he got very much to be a big fan of his, and he sent all his grandsons um, his books because he thought
Oh,
all
that's
of
cool.
them should read them. I don't know if
Hmm.
they did. My one nephew is now transgender, so I doubt it. But
Yeah. Um,
Sorry. All of his 12 rules for life are awesome, but they're so easy to be like, oh, that's it. First thing you do, you don't clean your room, you don't pet a cat on the street.
they are
Then look
simple,
at them.
but they're totally make sense though. I mean,
Right, they're good.
yeah.
but the way he phrases them, like sometimes they're almost too simplified. But I think people need that. I think sometimes we look too hard into things and think that there's more than we really need to see. Like sometimes it just is simple. Sometimes you just you hear something and you're like, okay, that is it. I don't need to look for a deep meaning. The deep meaning is the meaning.
Hmm.
So
Yep. So, what else about Jordan Peterson? We need to model good conflict resolution and not be like the lockstep Democrats. Yeah, I think that that's absolutely true too. We have a tendency, and I've noticed it more lately, it's become more us and them. And I think we need to go back to being not accepting people and their crap, but not accepting their crap, but accepting people. I think there's a difference. And I think that we need to start doing that more.
Right. And I mean, okay, so who knows what will happen with the Stein GB News back and forth. But I mean, with the Crowder and Daily Wire thing, I mean, when Crowder first did his video, he did I'm not naming names, but fix your crap.
Hmm.
Um,
he didn't have
but
to. They outed themselves.
they did, and they very much got in a big hissy fit and picked up their toys and left and said, we're not friends. Literally, Ben Shapiro said that he's not friends with Steven Crowder anymore, which is like, well, thanks. That's, you know, that's the big blow here. That's the, oh man. But the point wasn't if you're friends or not. The point was the principle. Um, so it's like, well, okay, so we're not friends. Are you going to fix your crap? I'm still waiting. Like, are you going to continue to do what I called you out about? That
Hmm.
you have that issue. And it was very much getting kind of a big hissy fit and leave. And you kind of need there's some minor drama going on right now with Tim Pool and the quartering and Eliza Blue and all of that going on. But
That's
it is,
insane.
I know, again, who I don't care about internet drama. Wow. Because briefly, Eliza Blue, I think I'm pronouncing your name correctly.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's how you
Carrie.
pronounce it in France.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Carrie had
Um,
mentioned her to me. I have not heard any of this.
right. That she basically anyone who said anything against her, she was able to use her connections in Twitter to get their channels locked down. She kind of comes out as saying that she is a big, human trafficking survivor and advocate. And when you look into that at all, it kind of fizzles.
Well,
And
Hmm.
I don't understand what she means by advocate. Like, what does she do? Does she just tweet about that there's human trafficking? Like, what exactly, as an advocate, is she doing for people? Like,
right.
I don't understand what exactly that entails.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm kind of suspect when people just say, I'm an advocate and I have these many clients, but they don't actually show what they've done for them. You'd think they'd say, well, I got them into safe houses, or I got them, jobs, or we've got court cases against their traffickers. You would think there would be, something of substance. And she's never put anything of substance out there. So
Right.
to me, it's very suspect. But
Right. and there is a wave of people's Twitter accounts getting shut down. I believe it was the Quartering and Brittany Venti,
yeah.
Venti. I'm sorry. Yellow Flash was another big thing, but they all got shut down from posting pictures from a video that she had done. I think it was World Star. It's a rap video, I think. Anyways, in which she's dancing rather provocatively and not wearing a lot of clothes. But that is a video that was on YouTube, and it was free and it was open for everybody, and just taking.
And she was paid to do the video.
Right.
So it was not done without her consent. She went on many interviews talking about how excited she was to do the videos, and there's been emails that have shown, her talking about how great the videos were. So her claiming that they posted something that was done non-consensually is not true. Even the president of World Star has come out and said, no, we paid her for this video. And we own it, not her.
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah. I don't know what's going on, and Morgan has a good point. Work for accountability, but the issue is that the infighting is why we're kind of like falling apart, which is true. They don't tend to go after each other, the liberal side, and they don't in they do to an extent, but they don't seem to do it the same way that we do. And I think that's because they're all got this kind of agenda that they're all working towards. Whereas I don't know who this blue person is. I don't know why she's popular, but I almost wonder if it's the same thing that happened with Dr. Carlin in the knitting community, where people were so excited to have somebody who was kind of on the other side or had this big story that kind of brought more attention to the. We got to stop just taking whatever drugs people throw us. That's all I got to say about it.
Exactly.
They're the drugs for a reason. So that's all I know.
Yeah.
Oh,
I think we need to be more careful about who we decide to make celebrities in our movement.
That is true.
No, it is very true. And anyways, the little kind of tiff going on is part of it is that she was on Tim Pool's show. Quartering was going to be on. Quartering admitted that he couldn't make it work, so it didn't work out. Anyways, in all of this kerfuffle, Tim Pool came out in support of this woman, of which every day more stuff is coming out about her not being legitimate, and also blocked the Quartering, which is pretty lame. Blocking people is lame, just saying. But that there is this schism now over this chick who helps nobody. So
yeah. Well, I think part of it's because, the whole banning, getting people banned on Twitter, and
yes.
For things that they did that were not terms of service violations.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that Twitter has not addressed that is an issue,
Right. Though I don't know about all of the counts, but nearly all of the accounts have been unlocked after it. So
I think a lot of that's because they've taken their tweets down.
Oh, okay.
I know Brittany Venti has not.
Okay.
But evidently a bunch of YouTubers who've commented on it. There's like 20 YouTubers that got violation strikes. Because of that too. So they're
something
talking about
happened to your audio, Liz.
Did I lose it? Okay. I'll be back.
Okay. So I don't know the whole thing about any of that, honestly. So
as far as drama goes, that's way more niche than the Crowder or the Stein things.
But. Yeah, some people thrive on drama, and I tend to not. I find that there's enough around without like seeking it out that I'm not that interested. It says that another folk singer said, sorry, but Tim Pool did not voice support for Blue. He's remaining neutral and not giving in to the mom's demands. Don't know what that is, but yeah. Mom. Okay. That makes more sense. Thank you. But excuse me.
I think he's kind of flaking, but whatever.
Mhm. Yeah. But Anne
Anyways,
has been fired up about that Stein stuff. We were on the phone last night and she was telling me all about it, and I said, well, you can fill me in tomorrow. She may have tried to tell me more, but we were having an issue with our neighbor and I had to leave somewhat abruptly.
we're like, oh, so sorry. Oh, bye.
Well, my husband kept going, hey, what's going on out there? Because he was busy, he couldn't do it. Like I said, we have enough drama right here in our own house that we don't need to worry about who's on the internet having drama.
Right.
No, but I get what Morgan was saying, and I kind of agree with her to an extent, because even like with primaries and stuff, like once there's somebody that's chosen, there's not the fighting that we have generally amongst the candidates. You know what I mean? Once they're like, oh, Biden is the chosen one, then everybody's like, oh, he's so great broadcasting from his basement. Like there's not the whole thing that we tend to have. Oh, Liz, I muted you when you were you when you were looking for new things.
Okay. Am I back now? I think
Your
too.
audio is still a little frimbly.
Is it?
Yeah. Something's wrong with it.
Is that better? Can you hear me now? No?
I mean, I can hear you.
I mean, we can hear you. It's just really bad. There's a lot of, I can hear myself too. There's a lot of echo. What conservatives do you guys listen to on the daily? Do you watch anybody on?
Can you hear me now? Is this any better? Or no?
I can hear you, but it's not good.
All right. Well, then I will just turn it completely off. Can you hear
Morgan
me now at all?
listens to. Yeah.
Okay. I can turn the fan off. That might help.
Probably. Okay. Morgan says she listens to Mark Belling. I have not heard of that person either. I guess I don't listen to much stuff. I've been watching the news every morning and I'm super proud of myself. And now you guys are like, hey, what niche commentators do you listen to? And I'm like, I just caught up on the news. Come on. Another folk singer. Oops. Another folk singer says, chicks on the right, lotus eaters, and Tim Pool. So yep. I've heard of chicks on the right. I follow their Instagram, but that's about as good as I can do with that conversation.
Lotus Eater, I think that's Carl Benjamin who does that, who also did the Ofcom is you here thing. So
yeah.
But
so
anyways, so what y'all knitting?
Murder Knits cardigan. Working on a Murder Knits cardigan in Chicken Lady. So Blood Splatter is the colorway, which is a really fun. That she died for Tabitha from Murder Knits.
That's
it's a fun colorway. It's fun.
I know.
Not my nice. Thank you.
I know that it's not what was originally thought, but it kind of reminds me of Finding Nemo. Like,
yeah.
The very kind of coral
sea blue.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's yeah, at first I wasn't sure, but then when I started knitting it, it kind of does not seem as blood splattery to me, or I don't know. It's I like it because it's not too much of the red. It's like it's there, but it's not, so I can knit it without having to alternate skeins, which has been very nice.
That is nice.
That is nice.
Because I despise alternating skeins, and that really takes the fun out of knitting for me.
Yeah.
But
I've never alternated skeins ever on anything.
I've done it once or twice because the dye lots were so different on the same colorway that I had no choice.
Yeah.
But usually I don't, because I don't mind pooling. So, but some people do. So for like samples and stuff for patterns, I try not to have a ton of it, but I don't bother. It doesn't bother me as much as some people. The cardigan I knit for my son, one of the sleeves, you can tell the difference on the sleeves. I can tell, he can't tell. Even in broad light, he can't tell, so he doesn't care. Right. So he's just like, Mom, nobody's going to notice but you. I'm like, but there's going to be a knitter who sees Who's gonna notice?
I can't be shamed in front of my peers.
Exactly. He's like, no, I like it this way. It looks like you did it intentionally. I'm like, okay, so now it's a design element. I can go with that, so that'll work.
Yeah.
So, what's Anne doing?
I am working on my Benedict sweater, which I've started on the body now, which is very exciting. But yeah, there's my sweater.
Those colors are so pretty.
They are.
That's Eddie McPurley, right?
Yes, it's her pattern and Maria Tuscan's yarn. And so I had to try it on yesterday because this is the sweater, which the entire thing requires 6 skeins, 3 of each color, and I only have 2 of the orange. So I abbreviated the orange part on the top, which should be okay because Stephanie of Texas Peach Knits, she gave me the amount of yarn that she used for the different colors. And she said that she only, if I'm correct off the top of my head, she only used 20 grams of her 3rd skein for this color on this part of the pattern. And I think she had the same size that I'm doing. So hopefully with a little nip and tuck here and there, it should be all right. Maybe, hopefully, I still have plenty of the brown too. So if I just end up finishing in that, then that's just how
does it have the color work on the sleeves at all? Or is it just, because you can add more color work on the sleeves too.
Right.
So that you use less of the orange on the sleeves if you wanted to do that too.
Yep. Like this little section, this section of color work that is under the sleeves right there, like that will continue on the sleeves as well. So,
well, it's very pretty.
Yeah, cool.
I'm sad that Maria's not dyeing anymore because her colorways are just gorgeous. I mean, I'm happy for her that she's found something that's bringing her joy, but I'm really going to miss Tuscan Knits and all her beautiful colors, and plus she brought us all together. So if it wasn't for Maria, we wouldn't know each other probably. So, we're all lucky to have had her and her yarn, which is something the other side can't say about things. They have their favorite dyers and their favorite designers, but that's all it is, to them. It's just, to us, our dyers and designers are people that we met for reasons and that we follow and we support because we care about them. And so it's a totally different way of looking at it. And I think that's why there's such a divide in our community, because, we support people that we want to support and that are good people. And a lot of them support the newest trend down the road or the newest dyer, the newest designer, and they don't care. It's just, they want to be just like everybody else. So they knit the same thing as everybody else from the same yarn as everybody else, but there's no connection. And I think we've been very lucky to meet a bunch of people that we can, like Anne, go to retreats with, and, all our friends that DK and I did not get to go to. So we got to, with the pictures that everybody posted, which was, fun, but sad too. So, but I think we're very lucky that we are able to make these kind of connections in our world, especially since we're not wanted in the other one. So, we have to support each other.
Yeah, no, for sure. That is, I miss the whole Maria Tuscan thing. I know everybody's like, oh, Maria Tuscan is kind of where it started for me, but I was kind of deep into my own thing at the time she was being canceled. So like a year later, I was like, oh, other people had this crap going on too. Because at the time I was like, I was too busy like knowing that everybody was saying about me to know what they were saying about others. It's that whole keeping your drama in your own yard. I had my own drama in my yard. I couldn't worry about it. No, but she was awesome.
I wasn't even on social media at all.
Yeah.
And then when the Ravelry thing happened, I was right about to start an Instagram because I just started to stuff. And I saw that and I'm like, nope, I don't want any part of this. I'm fine. I'm going to stay away from this whole drama. If they don't want me, I don't want to put my pattern. And so it took me another year, and it wasn't until after the Maria thing that I, through Unsafe Space and Carrie and all, and Nathan, and connecting with him and seeing, there are good people out there, and you just have to find them. And so then I got onto the social media, but after the rivalry thing, I didn't want to have anything to do with the knitting community. I was perfectly happy in my own little world where nobody wanted to kick us off for political beliefs that we may or may not have, that they just decided we've had, and really didn't like being called a Nazi by totally, that was really rough. It just, it's one thing if someone knows you. It's another thing when, totally strangers just label a group of people with something so hateful.
Yeah,
it takes
I
away
get what
some
you're
of your
saying, but I don't know. I think I would be more upset if like Anne told me I was a Nazi than some stranger, because Anne and I have had a relationship for years, and like it's upsetting.
Oh, it
But
is. Definitely it'd be worse if it was somebody you knew.
But at the end of the day, they're just a person,
but just having a whole group of people going on and on and on in forums and, oh, we don't want those evil people here. And, vendors I was doing business with, buying things for, well, if you support this person, I don't want your money. It's like, I've been buying your products for years. We've interacted, and now you're telling me I'm not welcome. Like, that was just, very rough to deal with.
Yeah.
But,
so there's a couple things. So Deborah wanted to know if there was a conservative retreat. Yes, Devin Ventry from Knitting McPurley hosted a retreat, 2 weeks ago now, Anne? Week and a half ago. Anne was there. Liz and I were not able to go. So that was super
Sharon
fun for Anne. Yep, Sharon in the chat was there. She says, hey. And then kind of to your point, Liz, is when the virtue signaling is done, there's nothing left. So being true to your beliefs is its own virtue.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And we have good people who will stand up for each other and support each other, and call out the others who don't. Like, when one of us gets attacked, there's usually a bunch of people from, who support us, and, without calling for mob justice like they do on the other side.
Right.
You can just support a person because they're a good person without having all your 42,000 followers to come down and attack them,
Go after people with their sharp sticks. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's generally not something we try to do, but what are you going to do? Yeah.
It is kind of
unhappy people are unhappy, and that's what it comes down to. And the best thing you can do is to not let them get to you, because unhappy people are unhappy. So if you don't care what they say, it's better.
Yeah, I haven't been on Twitter in a couple months. I just couldn't deal with it anymore. There was just too many bad people, and I just what? It's taking too much of my time and energy, and I don't need that. So stepping back from that was really good, because we have particular people that we all know who are exceptionally evil and nasty. And while it was fun to call out those people, it just got to the point where I was not, it was making me dark, and I don't need that. So I'm much happier just, going on Instagram, reading people's lovely pictures and stories of the retreats and things and all the new patterns and stuff. So it's much better.
I agree. So
Anne, what did you take away from the retreat? Like, what was your big takeaway that made you the happiest?
No, I had a really great time. But yeah, just everybody was so lovely. And I may have said before, but it was really, it was nice to know like people that you'd only interacted with online, and even people that you've only interacted like incidentally with online, like, oh, we're in the same buffet line and we followed each other on Instagram for years. And it's like, oh wait, it's you. Which was, it's like, oh wow, okay, sorry. Like I disconnect. Okay, cool. Like that was something that was very fun.
Yeah, I think it boils down to the people more than anything else. The yarn is pretty, the classes are great, but if you get to be with a group of great people, and doing a craft that you enjoy, that makes it all that much more special.
Yeah. Anyways, what you working on, DK?
I have 2 things to show. Ready? So co-op starts on Friday. Still not ready.
Oh,
But this is for my knitting class. I had it bound
Ooh.
off and finished. It's a
That's
hat,
cute.
and it's got 2 Latvian braids and some stripes and some color work because this is an advanced knitting class. Like, not super advanced, but we're moving beyond knitting and purling. We're gonna make mitts and we're gonna do this. But because I started off with a pattern for a cowl by Marley Bird, and I got into it and I went, this is not what I want to make for my students. This is not going the way I expected it to. So, of course, I started over, and now it's my own pattern that I've done my own thing with. But
every time.
because I did that, now I have to decide how I'm gonna bind off the top, because I had done another Latvian braid, but it was too tall, and so it made the top flat. Which I guess
Okay.
if that's the look you were going for, that was cool. But it was like a Latvian braid, and then it was the decreases, and so it was like a little square. It was not the look I was going for.
No, that I kind of ran into that with the one Canadian beanie that I did. That
Mhm.
I'm like, okay, so I have little sections, and it's just gonna square up, and like, oh, this is kind of a bucket.
Yeah, no, I didn't want to have a box hat. So I had to go back and take out that last braid, and I haven't decided if I'm just gonna like straight up knit to the top or if I'm gonna do another color work motif before I move on. And then I did not make this. My mother made this, but I'm in the process of making my own. It's a shawl.
Very
It's
pretty.
it's a one skein shawl. If you're in my Patreon in the experienced tier, this is going to be next month's project. Tina from A Wented Yarn and Fibers is going to dye an exclusive colorway for us. So, yeah, it's this really fabulous little scarfy shawl thing, and it's so easy to wear, and I'm going to wear it now. I was just waiting to put it on. I didn't really want to cover up my Hogwarts shirt because these ladies are talking about really important stuff about free speech and stuff. And in this house, oh, Morgan's one of my experienced people, and she says she's so excited. And then there's a lot more exclamation points. So yeah, I'm excited too, Morgan. It's gonna be fun. But yeah, Liz and Anne are talking about Mark Stein and really in-depth things. And here at this house, I've been playing Injustice 2, which is like Mortal Kombat, except that it's got superheroes in it instead. And I've almost beat that.
Nice.
I've got like 2 more chapters of that game left. So I've been playing that. And then today, if you are like my husband and you paid the extra $10, we got Hogwarts 3 days early. And so that's we took a well, it's not a snow day because it's 50 here, but we took a day off from school today because I let the kids play Hogwarts, and they've been sorted into their houses, and they've been so that's what we're doing here. I am not.
Well, not that that isn't a free speech issue as well.
It is actually, and I
After
kind of
all.
wanted to talk about it. Oh, I really
Yeah.
do like the way this looks. I might just start wearing, like, this might be my new style, guys.
What yarn did you knit that one out of?
This is a Hobby Lobby yarn.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's one of their hand dyed. This is one of the colorways that the Lemonade Shop lost their absolute shit over because they said
yes,
the Hobby
the-
Lobby copied them.
Yeah.
So of course I went and bought some from Hobby Lobby because I'm petty like that. But yeah, I'm really loving it, and I'm not a shawl person, as anybody who's ever watched me knows. But look, it went on like a scarf, and now I'm just wearing it. It's like I can do that.
Is that DK or fingering?
It's fingering weight. I am working on knitting up a DK version so that we can also see how that looks, though. But I had to put that aside because I'm still not ready for my co-op classes that start on Friday. So yeah, and I should totally be like knitting and crocheting for those. And instead I'm playing Injustice 2 and Hogwarts because priorities. I mean,
Hey, I think it's great that that game is doing so well that they weren't able to cancel it. That's been
Yeah.
hilarious to me because gamers, and when it comes down to it, gamers want to game. And,
Mhm.
you know,
Yeah.
you can't cancel the creator of a world and say you like the world because the world is part of her. You
Right.
know, it came from her.
Well,
It cracks me up that they just want to take her name off of everything. Yet she
but
still makes money off of everything. Like
right,
they want to take
but
her name
they
because they don't want to associate with her. Yet she makes bank every time.
Remember, kids, always keep your merchandising rights. Don't lose them. Don't give them away. Don't think they're worth nothing. Keep hang on to that.
How
yeah.
George Lucas made his money, he had all the merchandising rights for Star Wars because when they made the movie, nobody thought it was going to succeed. In fact, they put it in the they'd only gotten the theater because they took it alongside another movie. And so he didn't make a lot from the movie originally, but he had all the merchandising, and that's how he made his big bucks.
Yeah.
So
Well, I know that in the beginning they tried to like say, "Oh, I like Harry Potter, but I don't like J.K. Rowling and it's part of my childhood." And but now they've come out and they've said that you can't separate it. And then I saw some stuff. It was like somebody was like, "Yeah, I bought the game, but then I went and gave like a bigger amount to a trans charity so that I'm canceling out my impact with it and stuff." And people
Yeah.
are like, "That's
There's
not how this
nothing
works."
better than supporting
well,
your childhood favorite stories by ensuring that future generations won't have a childhood by sterilizing kids.
and also, I mean, the game is not totally unwoke because they do have a trans character in the game.
Yeah.
So they catered to the out
I
the
think
calling
most
out
of
of
the people are woke who do that kind of thing. I'm not even a little bit
yeah,
surprised that there's a character like that.
yeah.
But
So that cracks
I
me up that that they feel that they have to counteract their money in it when the game is catering in some ways to their requests.
yeah.
Like
And also, I mean, the sort of gamer news around that about how some of the game reporting websites have said, "Oh, we're not covering this," by saying that they're covering it. And then it's like, okay, we are covering it, but only because, it's such and such. It's like one of the best selling games. I mean, definitely this year, but it's done astronomically well. And not only and also like there's all sorts of Twitch streamers about this game that are being weird about it, that some of them are saying that they're not only not streaming this game, but they won't stream anything up to the release of this game because there's ads running midstream, and how dare they even have an ad on their channel that would support this awful, terrible, transphobic game. And there's a website that has this streamer streamed Hogwarts Legacy, where they're putting people's names into it. They're doing Twitch raids of people's channels who are streaming Hogwarts Legacy, not the fun ones where people just come over and are nice. Like, no, they're just groups of people being abusive in chats. So, like, yeah, it's getting wild on Twitch,
well,
people.
I know in the Reddit they weren't even allowed to talk about the game or mention it in the Reddit.
I feel like they need to stop worrying about stupid shit. They're just making themselves miserable for no reason. It's a video game. Do you know how many things I see on TV every day that I don't want to see?
Well,
Like there's one channel that we watch that every other thing is a ad for HIV medicine.
I've
Like
seen that ad.
and it's on like 3 times in a row. Like it's not my favorite ad. It's an ad. I don't know that we're even supposed to like them. Just stop.
you
Stop
think
being
and you
so
realize
miserable.
supposedly society has gotten better with all
Then
of
what?
this from the old evil days. But then I look back, I think people can't even stand being offended anymore. And yet I remember when Married with Children came out and there was a campaign against it, and the whole thing was, if you don't like it, change the channel, move on.
Yeah.
And that's what people did. It didn't last. The uproar didn't last. People who didn't want to know were offended by it changed the channel.
Yeah.
Now everyone feels like they have a right not to be offended by anything.
Yeah.
And
Here yarning with Angela. How very
yeah,
tolerant and accepting of them.
I
Exactly.
know.
Like
But that was the campaign. Just change the channel if you don't like
yeah.
it.
Yeah.
And now, it being a professional victim and professionally offended by stuff, it makes us weaker, as a culture, because life is
Yep.
not catering to your own personal needs. You have to live with everyone else. And yes, things are going to offend you from time to time, and you're the one who gets to decide how you react to it. You can be offended by it and cause a big sting, or you can just move on. It's like, I see things on Instagram I don't like. I scroll past them. I
Mm-hmm.
don't, you know, flip out or, call people out because I just, I don't want to watch this. I will either block this person or scroll past and move on
Right.
because
But
it just
Liz,
amazes me.
people nowadays aren't teaching their kids that they're not going to like everything. That's the thing. Everybody expects the whole world to cater to them and to care about their feelings. And my kids, one of them came in the other day and was like, they hit me. And I'm like, and? They were like,
Are you bleeding? That was our thing. Are you bleeding? No, then you're fine.
it's not that I don't care, but I'm like, go work it out. I'm not going to mediate everything. Oh, they called me this name. It hurt my feelings. So, like, people are probably like, oh, she's a terrible mother. No, I'm teaching them to not come to me for everything and to learn how to have a little bit thicker skin, which a lot of people need to do, because when I was a kid, sticks and stones could break my bones, but words can't hurt me, because nobody's bullied. I'm not saying kids should be bullied. My point is that I grew up with an older brother. Do you think that I liked being called a fart face? No, but I was, because I had an older brother and I survived.
Yeah, the whole I blame a lot of it on social media because people have the mindset that they're special. Like everybody's no one, you know what I mean? Like
Mm-hmm.
everybody has followers and everybody has, is unique and special, and the world should be tailored to them. And nothing should be in their world that offends them or upsets them because they don't know how to handle it. Because social media has told them that that's the way they should be.
Right.
Like followers, when I was growing up, if you wanted to talk to someone, you had to wait till the phone line was open because we didn't have cell phones. We didn't
Mm-hmm.
have computers to call them. If you wanted to do something stupid publicly, you couldn't just, go online and post a stupid picture. You had to actually take a camera, take the picture, go get the picture developed, and then decide if you were going to show everybody. Now there is nothing stopping people from making bad decisions.
Yeah.
You
And
know, we used to
and
be just life kept us from doing stupid stuff in a lot of ways. You had time to think over things. There wasn't just that automatic click on the keyboard, where
right.
you insult somebody or you call somebody out or, we used to have to do it face to face. And if you got hit over it, well, then that was your own fault and you learned not to.
Yeah, and you said we had to call somebody when the phone line was open. Dude, I remember the anxiety I used to get, like, over calling my friends and, like, oh my gosh, what if their older brother answered, or their dad, or oh my gosh, and then I'm gonna have to ask for him, and then I'm gonna have to, like, kids do not even know what it used to be like. Like, there was a
I,
whole level of anxiety of calling my best friend, because I'm like, oh God, I hope she had an older brother. He was like 10 years older than us. God, he was cute. And I was mortified if I even had to look at him.
my
They need
mom
to
would
know
not
what that's like.
call a boy. I was not allowed to call a boy on the phone because that was not what young ladies did. Boys
Hmm.
would call girls. So that was a big no-no in my house.
Right.
And it was just a different world. You couldn't just automatically go out and make these kind of decisions. And Lord knows, I like the world better without all the food pictures, I'm going to say. You know, life was so much better when you didn't have to see everybody's food pictures every single day and every single time they went somewhere. We didn't do that because what you wouldn't waste film on a picture of your dinner
And I
because
got to
getting
say,
film developed was expensive.
like, look, everybody thinks their own pet is the best. Surely I do. But
Hmm.
also, cats are adorable and they do funny things. You don't necessarily need the internet for cat and dog videos. If you have a cat and dog, you already have plenty of opportunity to see adorable cat and dog things.
That is
Yeah,
true.
it just makes the
That the
internet has
parent
made things so
but
immediate that it's not always a good thing.
Yeah, we live in an instant gratification society, and that doesn't help anything. Part of the reason we drive to Florida,
I
because
don't blame you.
we could fly. There's reasons we don't also, but like it's okay for things to take a while. One of my kids said to me the other day, you know, one of my favorite parts about going to Florida is that we are all in the car together and we listen to music and we listen to books and we talk and we're together. And, you know, it's not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing not to give your kid everything that they want the second that they want it. It's okay to like teach them to wait. Delayed gratification is cool, actually. I know it's hard to believe.
It's also good to teach them about winning and losing. And, and participation trophies are stupid. I'm sorry. Winning and losing should be taught. You know, all these schools that have, like when my daughter graduated 3 years ago, there were 8 valedictorians.
Oh, 8. Why?
Because they couldn't just pick one. So I
thought it was the highest GPA.
No anymore. They can't do that because then people who don't get it are sad. So they give it to everybody. So it just blows my mind because, you know, you don't want it. It's like that the schools in Virginia that weren't telling kids about being National Merit Scholars because the kids who weren't National Merit Scholars would be sad. So the kids that won this national scholarship that helps them get into college and college scholarships were not notified in time to put them on their college applications because the superintendent and the principals felt it would upset the other kids who didn't get it.
Wow. So if there's no such thing as doing things like you have the highest grades, you win, then what's the point of working hard?
And we all lose.
Ellie says that she hopes that the Virginia kids sue the hell out of everyone involved. I hadn't even heard of that story.
There was I think there were
like the
4 different schools now they found.
Ivy League schools.
Yeah, it's like
I'm sorry,
it's like there's 4 different schools in that district where it was happening, where they were intentionally not telling the students that they won national merit scholarships, that they were finalists. It just, you know, it's a thing for homeschooling for sure because, you know, but it just it blows my mind. And luckily my kids' schools were not like that, and they were very geared towards, you know, getting the kids into college and getting scholarships. And so I'm very thankful because I did not homeschool. It wasn't something that we ever considered because we both had to work. And I'm grateful that our school district had enough of the advanced classes that made a difference to both my kids in college. Because if you can get your kids in advanced placement classes, or even if you're homeschooling and get them to pass those advanced placement tests, you can save so much classes and money in college. Like my daughter started as a end of the year sophomore when she went into college because she had so many credits from AP.
Nice.
And, you know, that's all those classes you're not paying for college, plus they're that far ahead. And I was very lucky that our school district actually offered those classes. And they weren't quite as woke as could have been, though there were some very woke teachers that luckily my kids were smart enough not to listen to. And my daughter's school had a whole group of teachers who were inappropriate relationships with students. So that was a thing. And it's still ongoing because they just had another teacher from her old school who just got arrested for that. And it's crazy. It's crazy. One of her college professors is on the run. He threatened to shoot students. He was going to blow up the town that her college was in. He wanted the school to pay for his doctorate, pay for his mental health. He threatened to shoot the dean of the school, and then he went on the run. So he's an international fugitive right now.
Wow.
I feel like that's something we should have heard about personally. I don't. That seems like a story.
It was
like kind of a big deal.
It was in the news like 2 months ago. It happened, and one of my daughter's friends from school texted her and said, "Can you believe this professor? He's gone off the rails, and he threatened to come in and kill the students. He said he didn't want to kill the students, but he needed to make a point."
Wow.
And he got out of the country, so I don't know if they found him, but yeah.
No, that's crazy. A story I got here in New York. I don't know, man.
What are they doing in New York with the teachers? Are they going to hire back the teachers that they fired?
I don't know.
That they got the mandate?
I don't know. They would have to have admitted that they did something wrong, I suppose, and so probably not. We'll have to see.
Yeah, I can't see your governor doing that, so.
Yeah, no, she's a special flower. So I don't know.
Speaking of those, did you see that Bernie Sanders was charging $100 a head for people to come to a dinner so he could talk about anti-capitalism?
Only 100. Bargain.
Well, Bernie doesn't get the money he used to.
Yeah.
But the
No, I
people
haven't
can't
seen
see
that.
people can't see that that's a grift. I just blows my mind. All these, I'm not, capitalism bad people who, grift and make money crack me up. Like, your capitalism is bad, except it's supporting you. So
Yeah, all the people who hate capitalism except their Starbucks and their, all the fun things that they love, iPhones and just,
yeah,
oh well.
yeah, it's a little nuts. That's why we have knitting, to take the stress out.
Yep. So, Anne, what's new with you? You got any more news we got to know about? No, the New York governor has already addressed that. No rehires in the medical field. Assume education would be the same. Yeah, that's what I assume because she's heinous.
Evil is the word I'd use. Her and Michigan's governor.
Ugh. They both make me cringe.
Well, they both knew what was going on with the nursing home scandals with the COVID patients, and
Yep.
even though she was only lieutenant governor at the time, she knew darn well what was going on. So
Yeah.
I have no sympathy for people like that.
Yep.
Sorry, still my favorite terrible meme of the era was with Cuomo and smacking fannies and killing grannies.
Now, did it have his nipple ring picture on it, or was this a
Oh
different
my
one?
God, not that one.
Because I was always very surprised by that.
Yeah.
I was cleaning up my phone like a week ago, and I found a screenshot of it. I must have had it for something. And I was like, "Oh my God!"
Like, yeah, it still exists. See,
Oh, it's so horrible.
Never forget what happened during COVID, including the weird.
Well, there was that, and then there was the giant Q-tip that his brother had on air when he interviewed him too, about cleaning out his giant ears or something. I don't know. It was very bizarre.
I don't remember that. I never watched his brother though. I on purpose didn't watch him because hate him. So
yeah,
and CNN.
Yeah. Oh, we don't have CNN in this house actually, so couldn't have watched him if I had felt like it. There you go.
I think I watched CNN when Bernard Shaw was the host back in the day, when it was actually a news network.
I don't know who that is.
He was the one. He was the one during the Iraqi Desert Storm.
Oh.
Who was actually in Iraq during it and was bringing it from in the bombed out buildings and stuff.
Yeah. I think I was 9 when Desert Storm started, so I don't remember.
You probably weren't watching.
Which means that Anne was in utero, so she's. and Morgan's. I think Morgan's talking about the nipple ring. She says that's unforgivable. True story, yeah. Morgan.
It's more than you want to know about a public official, that's for sure.
It's more than you want to know about most people. I mean, you do you. Just keep it, so I don't have to know about it.
No, it's like the Grammy Awards. They're celebrating people, the first trans or the first non-binary artist. I'm thinking, what does that have to do with their singing? Like, well, I just still can't. Why can't you just be a really great singer who won an award? Why does your sexual identity have anything to do with anything anymore? Like, whether or not you're gay, straight, whatever, I don't care. Do what you want in your own time.
Just give them the gold award anyways.
Yeah, I just sing. Reward people on their singing. It shouldn't matter who they sleep with. Honestly, yeah. That's unless they're doing it on stage, which they shouldn't be. It doesn't matter.
Right.
Just between that and Madonna looking like
I didn't know she had done that to her face. What happened to her? I had to Google it today. It was awful.
Botox.
Oh,
Too much Botox, that one.
It's not Botox though. Her chin is a different shape.
Well,
She's had some sort of facial reconstruction that did not go according to plan.
oh, it's very bad.
It reminds me of the whole Michael Jackson thing, you know, how, you know, he had a face that had like shape to it, and then all of a sudden it was all pointy and unnatural. She's got that going on.
Yeah, I don't watch those award shows, but I was happy to hear that Bonnie Raitt won Song of the Year because she's an artist I actually know. So
I'm surprised she won something because
DK probably remembers that. Let's give him something to talk about. That song. That's Bonnie.
I know who she is. I'm surprised.
But I was just glad it was somebody I actually would listen to who won. So that was, you know, a big deal. Like they're calling Harry Styles the new David Bowie, which no, just because
David Bowie was actually talented. Thank you very much.
Yeah, David Bowie could pull off the androgynous look really well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Harry Styles looks like, you know, he's forced into it. Like, you know, well, he had the affair with Olivia Wilde for that one. What was it called? Good night, darling. Something.
Don't worry, darling, or something.
Don't worry, darling. Yeah, that was so him on the press tour where he was sitting there like, what I really like about this movie is like it's like a movie, and Chris Pine was dying.
I think he just does what his stylist tells him to.
I know, but he looks so miserable while he does it.
Yeah, and it's
like there's no, okay, I'm wearing this ridiculous outfit. He's not smiling. He's not posing. He's not like, hey, I look great. There's no confidence there. He's just like, yeah, I'm wearing the clown overalls.
Yeah, or the dress on Vogue or whatever.
Yeah, or it's like this is as unflattering as it can be, which all men are.
I'm sorry, but David Bowie, Freddie, Mick Jagger, they could pull off that look, you know. It was intentional for them to pull off the crazy. And they, you know, and they flaunted it. Now it's like Harry Styles just looks like, you know, he's, you know, in a hostage situation because he looks so miserable. It's like
Harry, blink
if you need help. It's
exactly, we're coming or not. Sorry, man, I don't know you, but somebody should help him.
Well, all the fashion on it's ridiculous. I mean, what they call dresses now, you know, it's like, no, that is not a dress. If I can see, you know, all your private parts, it's not a dress.
But are you sure?
Pretty sure.
I checked.
You know, but they don't want the male gaze because that's misogyny.
But I'm going to wear a fishnet outfit and then be mad that people are looking at me.
Pretty much, yeah. And post nude pictures on Instagram, but, you know, they don't want men to look.
Right. You know. Well, obviously.
Or like a little bit ago, who was the gal who she had an affair with some singer, and then the Maroon 5 guy.
Oh, Adam Levine.
Yeah, and then she went on Instagram and did this.
Maroon 5?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Bless you.
Bless you.
I should have a sneeze button. I apologize.
Okay, sorry.
But anyways, that she went on and she's like, and then it was terrible because, you know, I had this affair with this very famous guy who's basically like elevator music now. And yeah, he's just, but you know, that there was, you know, because it's a power imbalance that he's in the wrong, and she's bragging about having an affair with a famous man she mentions that his wife was a Victoria's Secret model, clearly one-upping and saying, but it was also horrible and I'm a victim. Like,
well, no. You can't. They're the same people who think children can have sex with adults, right? But then they complain, you know, oh, it was a power situation when a 40-something-year-old man sleeps with a 24-year-old. Okay, but wait a minute. I thought women had all this empowerment. They can make these calls themselves. You know, now you're saying that women don't make these? They can't make these calls when they're in a consensual relationship? You know, I don't
Yeah,
know. It blows my mind. Celebrities are weird.
they are.
Not gonna lie.
So randomly, my husband put on a movie for me yesterday, and it was The Hateful Eight by Tarantino. And it's one of those ones where it has like the credits that roll beforehand, and everything's like a Weinstein Company film and Harvey Weinstein, and I'm like, this didn't age super well, did it?
Like, ooh.
Oh, I didn't expect to see his name all over this, but that's cool. They were super proud of it at the time.
Well, he funded a lot of movies at the time. I think
Mm-hmm.
it's I read a thing with Pamela Anderson who doubled down on her thing that she had said during Me Too was, you shouldn't go in a hotel room with a man for a business meeting because
Right,
that's not a business meeting.
right.
You should be careful what situations you put yourself into. That yes, no woman deserves to be assaulted, but also women need to be responsible for their own actions, which she got called out a lot for at the time because it's just funny. It cracks me up. All these celebrities with their tales of woe and their this one cheating on that one and that one cheating on that one, and it's like,
And also kind of back to the Harry Styles thing where he looks like he's in a hostage situation wearing horrible clothes. But also that's kind of what they did with all these Weinstein girls because he would have an affair with them and then on the red carpet they would look like little fairy princesses because they would model his wife's designs.
yes, Arcasa, yeah,
Oh,
and
that was his wife?
hmm yeah,
Oh,
she
geez.
divorced him after
Well,
the Me Too thing, but
yeah.
But still that it was very much a done deal. This is what you do.
yeah, and
That's
the thing about
interesting.
him was supposedly it was such a known thing, like supposedly everybody in Hollywood knew about it at the time, but nobody did anything.
Right.
So
Uh-oh, something happened to Anne.
no,
Hopefully she'll come back in a minute.
we watched a bunch of B movies recently.
Mm-hmm.
They were kind of funny, old movies and crazy stuff. And then I binge watched Bridgerton the last 2 days.
Oh,
So
yeah?
Oof,
the first,
what do you do that for?
I wasn't going to because I just thought no, I can't. But I actually liked it a lot better than I thought I would because
Mm.
there's a lot of unintentional hilarity in it, and um, nobody's. Oh, there's some nudity, but most of the time people are completely covered, which is nice. And it cracks me up about how women did not know about sex. Ladies are not taught about sex. And in one scene, the 17-year-old daughter comes in the drawing room and says, "How do women become with child?" And her mother and everyone's horrified. She's like, "You don't even have to be married. Who knew?" And it was, it was like just totally shocking for the rest of them because these young ladies have no clue how to get
Yeah,
pregnant. Like, they're
I
not
would
taught.
say,
And that's part of the theme of the first season is because lack of knowledge. And it just cracks me up because it's like, who knew? Like, and the girl's telling her friend, she's like, we need to know how this happened so it doesn't happen to us. Like, yeah, that's where the mother should be explaining these things to them. Meanwhile,
yeah,
all the
Yeah.
shopkeepers and opera stars are all having affairs with their brothers and stuff. So, the poor women know all about sex, but the rich
see,
ladies know nothing about it.
I call bull crap on all of that. I really do. That, I'm sorry, women in the Regency era. The Regency era, like the 1920s, was kind of a loosey goosey era when it kept, not that, okay, everyone's always been having affairs throughout all of history, but also the Regency era where all of a sudden you're wearing much thinner dresses and you can tell it's like dresses where you can see your legs through them, shock and everything. That it was kind of, no, this is no. That's just
Well,
not how it was. Like you
well,
always highlighted it,
I don't think
but
they were taught till they were older. I think it was one of those things that, young ladies were not allowed to be alone in a room with a man that was not related to them because it could ruin their reputation. And I'm like, wow, you couldn't even be in a room with somebody, or you could be forced to
like
marry. Like, but it's entertaining. It's funny. The colors are amazing. Like, um, the costumes are
when
beautiful. I don't know how historically accurate they are.
No.
They're probably not, but they're beautiful. So it's fun to, watch that. It was better than I expected. It was entertaining. Um,
Which, is what you want to have a show.
yeah, I mean, I just wanted to see if it was going to be as bad as I thought it would, because I've never watched Downton Abbey.
Oh
And
gosh, I love Downton Abbey
I
so
love that
much.
era, but that
So
era,
much.
that era is my favorite detective mystery
Oh,
era. So if I'm going to watch a period piece of that, there's got to be some great mystery going on, because all the Dorothy L. Sayers and Agatha Christie's and Marsh books that I've read,
mhm,
that's the period that I would love to see with
mhm.
those stories.
Jeeves and Wooster, not really a mystery,
Yes,
but still.
but totally entertaining.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, I'm trying to watch different things, because a lot of the stuff on now is really bad. Like the
Yeah.
new Disney show that's on. That's
Are you talking about the Proud Family?
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank God
Have
I
you
don't
seen
have
that
little
clip, Anne?
kids.
I've seen bits of the clip. I've been watching, like, in the past couple of weeks, the first 3 X-Men movies. And let me tell you, in retrospect, perfect masterpieces. Like, or like, oh man, X movies, they are what they are. And third movie, they really kind of broke their own universe. But at the same time, I'm like, wow, you mean like there's this action film and everybody's different motivations and different superpowers actually come together in clever ways to create a plot in which things happen. There is beginning, middle, and end, and like you're invested in different characters. It's again, wow,
Well,
incredible. The CGI even still looks good.
which I found is surprisingly, I actually like the Star Wars prequels now.
Yeah,
I also hate it, but compared to the more recent ones, they're masterpieces.
yeah,
I mean, and now the whole scandal with Wikipedia, where not only have they given all the characters pronouns on the
yeah.
Wikipedia, they've made a list of their top LGBTQ characters.
Mhm.
Number
Hmm.
1, 2, and 3 are Luke Skywalker, Obi-Wan Kenobi, and Moff Tarkin.
Yeah, and from what I understand from Luke and Obi-Wan, it's because of there's some each of them there's some minor novelization in which they said that they, maybe had feelings for men and they're like, that's it,
Yeah,
they're gay.
but it was done in 2020. It's not even it's not even OG.
Mm-hmm.
And it just, why do they have to go back and change everything? Why can't,
Dude,
if you want an LGBT character, write one. That's fine. I don't care. Just don't retcon every character into your own
It,
little,
it's
like,
because nobody's interested. They're really not. Like, okay, I was thinking the other day, so the whole with Hogwarts Legacy coming out and everything, I'm like, I wonder if J.K. Rowling really regrets making Dumbledore and Grindelwald gay. And not from a diversity thing in either direction, that like more diversity or less diversity, but everybody seemed to lose the plot on the 2 characters. Like, they don't understand the whole intellectual attraction between these 2 people. You have young Dumbledore, who's been told his entire life that he's brilliant, and he is brilliant, and everybody else is so slow, and he is quick, and he's learning things, and he's making advancements in wizard kind at a very young age, and he's doing all of this, and it's always his family kind of holding him back. And then he wanted to go on this, trip. He couldn't because of his family, and he meets Grindelwald, and Grindelwald is filled with brilliant ideas that he's going to change the world, and he's clever too. So you have, again, these 2 people who are like, yeah, we're going to change the world and wizard kind, and everybody else is messing it up, and we're the brilliant ones. And like having these 2 characters, man, you could have had a slow burn, not to go back to X-Men, but the difference between Professor X and Magneto, that whole intellectualism, the whole good for everybody versus good for just the mutants. And Harry Potter would be good for just the wizards with the wizards rule. You could have had those great moments of, you have the betrayal and that, not to spoil all of Harry Potter for you, but, I kind of did. But Grindelwald, ended up, being the cause of the death of Dumbledore's sister, and that kind of that is what broke the relationship between them. But realizing that Grindelwald had always been selfish and always been cruel, and his for the good of all is a total lie and has always been a total lie. You could have built up those plot points in the Fantastic Beasts. You could have had this sort of thing, that, I trusted you and betrayed me. But they didn't do that. They went for weird and soppy and no plot whatsoever. Like, you could have had nice things, but you didn't develop those points at all.
Yeah, one of my favorite parts about X-Men is the relationship between Magneto and Professor X, and how they both want to protect mutants, but Professor X doesn't want to protect mutants at the cost of humans.
Right.
Whereas Magneto only sees with blinders. It's not till later that he finally starts to, look at things in a different perspective. And that's part of what made those movies so good, because the acting, for one, and because you put Ian McKellen and Patrick Stewart together, and, it's fun to watch.
Right.
But because they kept the themes, they made you think about the themes. Whereas with the Hogwarts thing, it's like, oh, Dumbledore and his boyfriend, they had a fight. Now the boyfriend's bad. It's like they don't delve into it enough. And quite frankly, all the adults in Harry Potter are awful for the most part, except for like Mr. and Mrs. Weasley and McGonagall and a couple of the teachers. Every other adult is terrible. Dumbledore's terrible to the children. Like, okay, all these bad things are going to happen, but you guys have to take care of it, and I'm not going to tell you what's going on. So you're going to have to figure it out yourself, and it's life or death. Like,
I kind of disagree. Well, and I may have said this before, but after reading some of the James Bond books, and that I had read ages ago, that J.K. Rowling, that Ian Fleming, that she read all of the books when she was younger, and there was a great influence. And the parallel between M and James Bond versus the parallel between Dumbledore and Harry is fascinating. Not just the sparkling blue eyes, but that James and M, that they're closer, they're more father's son, and he would do anything for M. Absolutely, he's very devoted. But it's the Dumbledore is more not just in relationship to Harry, and Harry would do kind of anything for him, but also in relationship to everybody around him, that everybody trusts Dumbledore, and Dumbledore is sort of he's sort of scheming outward. But that was, I mean, the seventh Harry Potter book, I just as a it is the culmination. It is the most, in a sense, it's the most James Bond like, because you have all of these different things happening, that you don't just have one story to do. You have to get this and get this and get this. It's more task. It's not just one task. But also that kind of internal struggle he has between who he thought Dumbledore was and finding this new information. And you have that with a lot of adults in the Harry Potter universe, that you had this previously about his dad, that, everyone always said his dad was great. And of course, he's orphaned. He's never met his dad. And then finding out that his dad bullied Snape. And what about that relationship and what's going on? And that sort of level of like, are you going to love and trust people anyways, even though they're not always good? And it's sort of, there's an acceptance of this. And at the end, it's like, oh, Dumbledore, he sent you on a mission to die, Harry. What are you doing? Why don't you just give up and leave? And it's like, it's that acceptance of, no, but I'm going to go forward. And yeah, he wasn't always a great guy, and he wasn't always, the ideal that I made him, but that doesn't mean I don't trust him. I thought that was brilliant.
I'm very mixed feelings about the adults in the whole Harry Potter world. I mean, Snape was terrible. I'm sorry, you can't convince me otherwise. He would have been perfectly happy for Harry and James to die as long as Lily survived.
Mm-hmm.
And he's the one who told all the parents about Lupin.
Yeah,
so that was pretty crappy to me. I mean,
yeah,
he sacrificed himself at the end, but
yeah, I think he's a fascinating character. I'm not buying an Always t-shirt though.
Everyone, talks about he's so, wonderful, and no, he did bad things too. He treated Neville horribly.
Yeah.
No, he was not a good person. He was in love with Lily, and he did actions because Dumbledore coerced him pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
But, he treated the children terribly, and he's the one who turned Lupin in, and Lupin lost his job and everything, so he was not a nice guy.
Yeah.
So, but not that there has to be just nice people in books. It makes it richer when you have the whole good and evil dynamic and everything, but it disappointed, and it's the classic hero story where the children have to save the day, and because it is the children who end up saving the day in Harry Potter.
Yeah, but that's kind of the point of it.
Yeah.
Someone's got it.
But another folk singer says free will and sacrifice make great themes for stories and for life, which is true. And then Selfish Knitter also says nobody is entirely good or evil. So
No,
I think you
they're
both
not.
are very correct.
Yeah, I mean, all the characters did good and bad. It's just, I think there, a lot of their actions weren't necessarily the best for the children in their lives, but,
Yep. Oh, Anna's gone again.
Sorry, I gotta pull my curtain over.
Oh,
I noticed you looked like a cartoon, like a anime with the sun rays across your face, and
Yeah,
too much sun for Anne.
that's right.
How is your new place? Are you happy there?
Yeah, it's good. I'm enjoying it.
I just wish you could have Molly.
I know, but she is happier with my brother, and she's losing weight, which I'm kind of surprised because I never thought of her as an especially fat dog. I mean, she's a bulldog. She's that shape. She's not svelte by nature. Yeah. She's literally big boned, guys. But no, she's looking good and happy, and
She's not getting pickles and cheese.
no. Maybe cheese, but not pickles.
Well, you know where she could get some if you want to have some. You just need to take her on a road trip. You just couldn't expect to take her back with you is the only thing.
Yeah, that's the issue. But something else I wanted to bring up that I was thinking of. So, I was thinking I haven't cast anything on yet. This is just in general thoughts. So the other day I was walking back from work, and it is absolutely freezing cold, like bitter, make your eye water, windy, bad stuff. So I dug out this cowl that I made ages ago. I was this is when I was doing a lot of superhero knitting, specifically Bucky Barnes. But anyways, it's just a stretchy ribbed cowl. Pull it up over your face. Great for winter, and I'll wear this, and I'll have like another scarf wrapped around my head because it's really cold. But anyways, I was thinking of making a second one that had kind of a V front, so I wouldn't necessarily need the second scarf wrapped around. And because I have this lovely Sweet Mountain Craft yarn.
Ooh, pretty.
Yeah. And then I was thinking of holding it together with mohair.
Very warm.
Yeah. Or is it still too thin is the question, because it's fingering weight held with mohair.
I don't think it'll be too thin.
I don't think so. I mean, Jo in Australia, she does those mohair fingering weight hats all the time, and they're very warm.
Okay.
So I would think it would be fine.
Okay.
Those are pretty colors.
I know. Here, I'll pop them out of the bag. So they're fancier. But anyways, yeah, that's what I was thinking of for upcoming designs.
You could always make it plaid.
Yes. And South Dakota State University, their color and our state flag colors are yellow and blue, so it's fancy. And then I don't know, spring colors, because spring really doesn't come till May. Who are we kidding? So
by May we're at 100 degrees.
Yeah.
What is this spring you speak of? We go from not cold or from not hot to hot and then very hot. There's like no in between.
We're dying here.
Yeah.
But
Ellie Mae says that she was on a kick with cowls made out of fingering and mohair. They're good, so that's good to know.
Awesome.
But
But anyways, yeah. So that's why I'm thinking. I keep going back and forth in my head, well, also with making it at all. But the idea of like, oh, well, just like a ribbed cowl, that's kind of boring. Maybe I should put more pattern in it. And then I'm like, no, I need it to be that close to my face. I need to pull it up and,
yeah.
Yeah, you don't need a lacy open cowl for that kind of weather.
Right.
Nope.
Like
sure
I need,
don't.
no joke. It's freezing.
You should make a hat to match your snowdrop shawl.
Ooh, that'd be fancy.
Or mitts or something to go with it.
Right.
I know you can't get that exact colorway, but you could get a complimentary one. And if you have any scraps, you could use the scraps as stripes or something and tie it all in together.
That's true. I did think of doing a snowdrop cowl on that same concept of having the sort of pointed front with the little snowdrop in front. So I don't know if anyone's interested in that, but could whip it out.
Yeah,
That would be pretty.
that sounds awesome. So
DK, are you going to release that hat that you're designing for your class?
yeah, it's well, March is going to be this cowl that I have on right now. I mean, this shawl. I don't wear shawls. I'm not used to saying that. In March, we're going to release this shawl. And if you're part of my Patreon and you're in the experienced tier, you'll get an exclusive colorway from Tina that will be enough to make one of these, which will be fun.
Nice.
And then probably in April, the hat will come out. I'm still working on it. Part of the thing is that it depends on how things get written up. So this is already written, gonna be tested, so it wins. That one still doesn't have a decrease on it.
Yeah,
but
I get that. That's when things
yeah.
go in timeout for me, when I'm like, well, I'm not sure how I'm going to decrease this hat, so it's just going to sit here until it tells me what it's going to do.
Yeah.
Sometimes you're like, oh, I love this, and then you get to the end of the hat, and you're like, well, how am I going to make the decrease, like you were talking about before?
Yeah.
And
well, this hat's been perking for about 2 weeks, and the other day I woke up and I knew what it was gonna be, and it knit real quick. It was great, but yeah. Now I'll think about it for another day or so. I mean, school starts on Friday, so I only have a couple days left. I think I'll work on the blanket tonight.
you'll get it. It'll come to you probably like, all at once, and like, oh, that's how I'm going to do the decrease, and boom, and then it'll just totally make sense. Because it seems to be how the creativity works. Just
yeah, I've been dreaming about stuff lately. That's how it kind of happens for me, but we'll see. But as lovely as this is and as much fun as it's been, I got a text that my prescription for my sinus infection is ready. And so, guys, I have to leave and go get my medicine.
I don't blame you for that. I don't blame you at all.
Yeah, I feel like I didn't talk much today, but it's general ickiness.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was sick for 2 weeks, so I totally sympathize. It's not fun.
Yeah. But thanks everybody for joining us today, and
thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming on.
Thanks.
Yeah, so we'll see you guys later.
We'll have to see what happens with Stein this week.
Yeah.
And can talk about it on Saturday.
Well, he does have a video on his website, and he did do like a little follow-up post if anyone is interested. So
yeah, and I'm sure Anne will cover it for Saturday.
Maybe he should do a media company with Crowder.
Maybe. Man, okay, those are two people who A, are very independent, and B, like they have a very clear vision of how they want things done, which means they can be a little difficult to work with at times. Like feel like two bulldogs hanging out.
But it might work because neither one of them will want to stifle the other one.
That is true.
And
they can both take an insult, which certain other people clearly can't.
Yeah. There's a lot of that in the conservative media world, I found. A lot of take criticism whatsoever. And it's like, dude, you're
this is your job. People are not going to like you all the time. You need to learn how to take criticism. But
Yep.
Right. So if you guys want to hear more about what Anne says about Stein, don't forget to watch us on Saturday on YouTube and Rumble, and we'll see you guys later.
yep. Bye. Thanks for
Bye.
Bye.
Feel better, DK.